Welcome to Identified, where we explore, challenge, and redefine the traditional concepts of family and identity. In this episode, I am joined by comedian, writer, director, actor, and musician, Tim Heidecker.
My grandfather's father came over from Germany when he was probably 8 or 9.
So this is 1800s probably sometime?
Yeah. My grandfather would have been 8, was born in 1917, something like that. We don't really know much about them in Germany.
Okay.
My mother's side, I think it goes back German, Pennsylvania Dutch immigrants from the 1800s. I think on my mother's father's side, his father was adopted. I believe. It was kind of a dead end there. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
We don't have anything beyond that. But
not even speculation, not like, because so much stuff from back then is sort of what people decided the story was.
There's no like tales told about what it could have been.
That's wild, right?
Not sure the story there. So really like pretty typical, I guess. I mean, I don't know, you define what typical is, but that wave of European migration that happened in the late 1800s, all of my family came over around that time.
So where'd they come over to? What part of America?
All to Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah. My grandmother on my father's side, very Irish, and believe it or not, her father was a cop in Philadelphia.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And we have a picture of him in our house, and I always I guarantee that guy was probably not a full-on racist, like an Irish cop in the 20s.
Wow.
In Philadelphia. Come on,
You wouldn't have met him. He wasn't.
No, I didn't know any of my great-grandparents. I think they all passed before I was born or when I was very young.
Right. Did you know your grandparents?
Yeah, I knew my grandparents very well.
Yeah.
They're all gone now, but they were pretty much with us until last one to go would have been maybe 10 years ago or so.
Okay, so you really...
So they were alive collectively.
Right.
2008, 2009, then they started to kind of drop.
Yeah. And did they tell you stories about their childhoods and about the past and about your sort of lineage?
A little bit. I mean, I actually got way more into it, way more about it from my mom and dad once their parents kind of passed away. Then things started to open up, and there was like a good amount of, I think like a reasonable amount of tragedy going on back.
Really?
That like came with the times. A lot of, on both sides of my family. I don't know about, like, I guess the big story from my father's father was he was one of 9. He was the last of 9. His mother died in childbirth when he was born, and his dad ended up marrying his wife's sister, his sister-in-law, essentially.
Wow.
Because she just was there to take care of she just moved in to take care of the kids in the absence of her sister who had died. And so I think my grandfather kind of grew up in a house where his mother had died from him, or basically.
Right. You could see it that way.
Yeah, you could look at it that way.
Sort of feel guilt about that.
And his mom wasn't really his mom; it was his aunt.
And he's the youngest of 9. You said.
Yeah. So that's got to screw you up a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, probably not something he was very aware of, being abnormal. On the surface, it might have just seemed like that was just what you did.
Right.
My mother had an older brother, and then my mother's in the middle, and then they had a younger sister who was born with cancer. And when she was born, it was the 50s, and they treated it with radiation and did terrible scarring and damage and developmental stuff. My mother grew up in a very, unmoored, chaotic medical crisis kind of environment. And then at the same time, my dad grew up with he was one of 5. He was the second oldest. His oldest brother, when my dad was 3, the oldest brother was 5, was killed, was run over by a delivery truck in front of the house.
Oh, God.
We always knew that. It's something kind of that came out recently, is we always knew that. Growing up, there was always a photo, the first communion photo on the wall of this kid, and you're just kind of like, who's that? You know, when you're me and the cousins. And then, you kind of learn, oh, that's Tommy, and Tommy died when he was a kid and all this stuff. And it was just like, it didn't seem that crazy to us. But then in adulthood, especially now having kids, talking to my dad, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling the reverberations of that. Like, that affected me. Right? Like
Think how your dad
the generational...
Your dad's 5 and it's his younger brother? Is that what you...
No, it's older. I think
brother.
the kid, Tommy, would have been 5 and my dad would have been 3. So
maybe not remember it, but certainly remember what it felt like.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, that explains... And my dad and mom, both of them were figuring out kind of how that affected them into, as kids, and how that affected them as adults, therefore how I was raised.
Right. And how many siblings do you have?
I have a younger sister who's 3.
Okay.
She's 3.
There's 3.
She's 3 years old. No, she's 3 years younger than me. But that clicked. I was like, oh, that's why you are the way you are. And therefore that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm the way I am, because of all this stuff that happened, 70 years ago.
What is the way they are?
Mostly good, but just, maybe overcautious or overprotective, or whenever your parents are dealing with their own shit, that affects you in some ways. And their relationship was, eventually ended when I was much older.
After you left the house?
Yeah. After I was married and with kids and stuff.
Wow.
It's all good. Everyone gets along and everything, but that stuff from childhood kind of simmered up again. I think you realize, like, oh, that's never going to go away.
Right.
Once you realize that, you can check in on it, I think, and like say, that's one of the reasons I'm feeling this way. There's like reasons for it.
Well, it's interesting that you trace it back to your grandparents, since it's 70 years in the past. It's sort of this line of shit that happens that, even though they might seem like isolated incidents, it's all part of this bigger picture.
Yeah.
What was your childhood like? I mean, of course, on paper, you and your sister, who's a few years younger, and 2 parents, it sounds like a nice traditional childhood.
It was very nuclear, very suburban. Look back on it and see like backyard barbecues. We went to Catholic school.
I'm sorry, is this in Philly or where did you live?
Allentown, which is about an hour outside of Philadelphia. My grandfather had worked at a Ford dealership in Allentown and got very close with the owner. When the owner retired, he handed it over to my grandfather. That became our family business. And my dad took it over when he came in his 20s, where he became a partner and eventually started running this Ford dealership. So a lot of time spent at I was one of those kids that after school would go to my dad's work and sit in the lounge and put money in the vending machine. And
sounds idyllic. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. It was fun, but I think it was stressful for him. I think it was not a fun business to be in. It was not the most profitable. I mean, Ford, American cars in the 70s and 80s was not the business you wanted to be in necessarily. It was very challenging. Other than that, I mean, they made it as pleasant as possible for us. We had, summer vacations on the Jersey Shore, and I never felt like we wanted for anything. I mean, we weren't spoiled, but we had, we lived in a pretty nice house in a development, rode bikes around the neighborhood, went to the movies once a week.
Do you get along with your sister? Are you guys close?
Yeah, very much so. She lives in Montana, and so I don't see her very often, but when we do, she has a son that's my son's age, so we get them together a couple times a year. And
Do you have one child, or you have more than one child?
2 that I know of.
How old are the 2 that you know of?
I have no idea. They're 8 and 11.
Oh, okay.
Do you have kids?
No, don't have kids. Yeah. You were going to say great kids?
No, yes, great kids.
I want to cut you off on that.
No, abnormally normal, like very easy and creative and funny and.
Wow, these are like things no one says about their kids. Abnormally normal is
I know, and
easy.
I don't know, like
yeah.
I wonder how, like, I mean, you hear so many stories about not, kids with behavioral issues or physical issues, disabilities or whatever. I'm sure my wife and I would be able to, you would adjust or they're your kids, but I don't know. We got we're very fortunate. They just are, I don't know, really easy and healthy. And
this may be a naive question from someone who doesn't have kids, but based on everything you talked about your parents and your grandparents and the way the sort of, maybe this, I don't want to call it a legacy of trauma. That's intense, but the things that kind of affected each generation. Do you find yourself being protective in that way, in a way that relates to the things that happened in your family, or do you think you've let some of that go?
I'm pretty lax with them. I try to be. I think I have my own anxieties about that. And when I first found out we were going to have kids, I was doing this show, and I just met this actor, Ken Marino, who's a funny, great person and a great actor. And he had kids, and just getting to know him, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to have a kid later this year. And he's like, well, get ready to worry about them for the rest of your life. That was his advice,
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah. And I was like, what's that going to feel like? And then you feel what that feels like, because you just have these horrible thoughts every, 3 days. And those start going away.
Right.
Eventually. But yeah, you still do. But aside from that, I try not to inflict any of that. My advice to parents or whatever is, like, if they ask or people are going to have kids, like, just try to be a friend to these people. Like, try to be a pal and I mean, obviously there's times and places to give them, to be the adult and be a parent, and I definitely can become dad when dad in the driving. Hey, enough.
Right. Classic
I can turn that on.
Right.
And they get
That's
it.
very good.
They get it. And like, I even said it to my daughter, Amelia. I'm like, and sometimes I have to lay down the law a little bit. She's like, yeah, no, I know. It's you have to. I get it, like.
They do sound like good kids.
Yeah, somebody has to.
Right.
But generally, it's like, I want to goof around and be try to make them laugh, try to make their lives easier. And, we don't let them do anything. We have some guidelines, but we're pretty chill when it comes to like language or, the stuff that I feel like when I was a kid, you were just so worried about getting in trouble about so many things.
Right.
And,
I guess there's bigger things to worry about now.
Yeah, there sure are.
Saying the F word or whatever.
Yeah.
Are your parents still alive?
I haven't heard anything. Let me check my messages.
The ringer's off, but hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, they're both still alive.
Do your kids have a relationship with them? Do you still have a relationship with them?
Yeah, absolutely. They're separated. My mom is much more in our lives at the moment because she's closer. So she's in a couple hours away, and my dad's in Florida. We see him a couple times a year. We have been doing this thing where we go down, we drop all the kids off at their place. My dad and his girlfriend, partner, drop them off down there for a week and a half or something. Spend a couple days there, and my wife and I go off and do something else.
All right, go party.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you should see how we party. It's pretty exciting.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What is family to you?
I mean, there's the obvious definition of these people I'm related to these people, but I'm a big believer in sort of the chosen family concept. I have a core group of friends who I would consider much closer to than most of my family. Outside of my mom and dad and sister, I have a cousin that I would say is part of my chosen family.
Right. So it is an actual cousin.
It is an actual cousin.
But you consider them chosen family?
Yeah.
Because you've chosen?
Yeah. Her and I, she's a chef and writes about food and is pretty successful in that world. Her and I have been very close since we were like toddlers.
Right.
Very on the same page, very, very silly, and always looked forward to seeing her, and still maintain that, you know. Mm-hmm. So, but then I have other cousins who I have nothing against. I just don't connect with. Yeah, I just don't click. And and the aunts and uncles, not a lot of. We're not close that way. My parents, we were like. The weird thing talking about this, is there was a period of time when I was part of that sort of idyllic childhood. We were pretty close. There was a period of time where all the aunts and uncles were still married. All the kids, all the cousins were all kind of the same age. We're all kind of living near each other. Right. So I did spend a lot of time with them, and our holidays were aunts and uncles, cousins. Mm-hmm. And that kind of broke up at some point.
Was it when people moved away, or were there other reasons?
There were a few divorces in the family that kind of split people up, broke up some traditions that were happening. I think grandparents started becoming more out of the picture. I moved to the West Coast. My sister moved away. And, there was like the attempt to come back for a few years. There was a few of those back east trips. And then it got like, I think we're going to stay here this holiday, or, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of drifted apart. Everyone kind of stopped.
And I'm guessing at the same time, that's when you started to connect with the chosen family, whoever those people are, the people that maybe lived in your new town and became more important in some ways.
Yeah, some of them were. I had my first 10 years in LA was very busy making stuff and working with a core group of people. That became kind of a family. Lately, I think sort of since having kids and a couple of old friends that go back to like right after college, everybody started coming to, like a few of those people moved to LA. The pandemic, I think, was a big turning point for finding out. You're like, all right, the whole thing with the pods and like, this is our quarantine pods. Like, all right, we've chosen a couple of couples
literally
and kids. It's literally chosen like, we're going to ride this thing out together.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuck. And I think, so since like 2020, there's been like, that group, it's not like they came out of nowhere. They were like, and there were a couple kids that were the same age as our kids and that kind of thing. And just be like, all right, let's just like settle on these people. Mm-hmm. Not that we're settling on anybody, but like everyone just like clicked.
Commit to, maybe.
Yeah, there's now like talk of like, the other night we had a thing about like, have we looked in the will about where our kids are going to, like that whole thing? And like, we should maybe update that, because like, I think you guys are the ones who would actually be the people, but we haven't talked about that in 10 years.
Have you had that real conversation with chosen family, with close friends?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, that sounds like an intense conversation to have.
It's all hypothetical and probably not, hopefully gonna see itself.
Is there a quid pro quo?
I think there would need to be. I think there'd be a little negotiating.
But really, like if your two families are close, if something happens to you, you'd like them to take your children. I would imagine they would probably want the same.
Yes, I think that's the understanding. This was brought up the other day, so it hasn't turned into any kind of formal proceedings. But that's where family's at right now for me. And then of course my own, now I have my own family, and that's exciting to me, that I can't wait to see where my kids go and how they turn into adults and have kids of their own. And,
Thanks for tuning in. Please consider subscribing to Identified wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss an episode. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other major streaming platforms. And be sure to explore identifiedpod.com, the place to gain a better understanding of family. Our executive producer is Kiran Banerjee, and the show is produced by Palm Tree Island. The music for Identified is by Noella and Patricia Brennan. I'm Nabil Ayers. Thanks for tuning in.